Hey there, folks. Zane from the Infinite Jukebox, aka the #1 Proto Martyr fan, here with another quick album review. And today I wanted to talk about the new English teacher record, This Could Be Texas. So, do you think this is like, this could be Texas? Like, as in they're lost and they think they might be in Texas? Or do you think it's like, this could be Texas? Like, it could, like, the area they're in could be turned into Texas? I feel like I'm overthinking this. While the UK's consistent output of new, critically beloved, and artsy post punk bands kind of undeniably peaked a couple of years ago after bands like Squid and Black Country New Road and Dry Cleaning all made their first breakthroughs at relatively the same time, there still remains a pretty steady stream of, again, very interesting artsy indie bands coming out of the UK right now and coming out of similar scenes as those bands that I just mentioned. Maybe they aren't making the same massive splashes that some of their predecessors did, but they are still making pretty decently sized waves, and in some of those bands' cases, for very good reasons. And one of those cases, see English Teacher, here with their first full-length studio album, This Could Be Texas, and while I do feel this album is nowhere near perfect, I also think that as a debut studio album, it defines this band as definitely one to keep an eye out for. Look, I'll just get it straight out of the way. First things first, Lily Fontaine is far and away the best quality of English Teacher as a band. She is easily one of the best front people that the UK artsy experimental rock scene has produced over the course of the past couple of years, even though English Teacher debuted a few years ago, but I wasn't aware of them until last year, so that doesn't matter. All that matters is what I'm aware of. And I really do feel like she manages to have this very grounded and very natural charisma that ultimately makes her kind of a driving force here in terms of what you really want to take note of upon at least first listen. And after multiple listens, you really do get to have this sort of grasp on her overall sort of presence and personality on this record. And she kind of reveals herself to be a deeply promising figure within this specific realm of alternative music. The songwriting here is pretty strong as well, with a lot of it being pretty unique and interesting social commentary that greatly differs from some of their less poetically inclined peers, with tracks like Not Everybody Gets to Go to Space really highlighting the strength of a lot of the lyricism throughout this record, the aforementioned track being particularly interesting and unique in how it discusses that not everybody manages to achieve their dreams and that it's okay if you are not able to achieve what you want to, because that's completely normal and okay and happens to a large number of people. I really do feel like a lot of the time English Teacher are providing commentary on things either from a unique perspective or from a perspective that is on something that honestly you don't really see discussed a lot. I mean, having a band tell you directly, hey, yeah, chances are that you might not do that thing that you really want to do, but that's fine because a lot of people don't get to do the thing that they want to do. It feels unique, it feels interesting, and it's a big reason why I think that English Teacher right now are one of the most interesting recently debuted bands that I've heard in recent memory. The rest of the band is very solid too, with moments such as Nicholas Eden's bass work on the track R&B really defining that song in particular as one of the standout moments on the entire record, or Douglas Frost's consistently tight percussion throughout the record being highlights of this band being more than competent from an instrumental standpoint. But I will say I do think the moments that most stand out, generally speaking, at least kind of tend to be the more high energy moments. Tracks like I'm Not Crying, You're Crying and The World's Biggest Paving Slab, those kind of tend to be some of the really memorable moments for me, and after multiple listens those are still the tracks that really do stick with me in my head. And I kind of think that for the most part the ballads are solid but also not necessarily on the same level. I mean, look, I'm a sucker for a good ballad, don't get me wrong, and there are some good ballads on this record. Hell, the album even ends off with a good ballad via the track Albert Road. That being said, the kind of run of ballads from The Best Tears of Your Life to Side Boob towards the end of the record, right before the final track, the aforementioned Albert Road, it kind of feels like they all queue up together in a way that just comes across as a bit unnatural, or at the very least a bit dull. That's not necessarily to say that they are bad tracks, they're all solid tracks on their own. It's just having them back to back to back with no break in between, no sense of variety in terms of presentation or energy, makes things feel kind of one note on a record that up until that point is anything but. I really do think it's a shame how much steam this album loses in those last few tracks there, because everything leading up to that ranges from very good to absolutely outstanding in its best moments. But, overall, even through all of the issues that English Teacher faced throughout this record, all of the issues that do occasionally pop up throughout This Could Be Texas, I do think that this is a debut studio album that happens to have one of the most talented recently debuted bands in the UK at its core. And between having a group of extremely competent musicians, one of the most gripping front people that the entirety of the UK's sort of artsy side has produced in recent memory, and a knack for putting forth some very unique songwriting that feels pretty singular in terms of comparing it to other similar bands to English Teacher active right now, I think that English Teacher are the kind of band that are very much worth keeping an eye on, because I don't think that this record is particularly amazing, but I think it is a record that implies amazing things for the future. I'm going to give this record 3.5 stars out of 5. And with that being said, that is the end of this album review. I've been Zane from the Infinite Jukebox. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.